In this video we'll see how to use route handlers in Next 13. In Next 13.4 they have been made stable, so to learn them we'll write CRUD operations for user. First we'll create a new Next project. I'm using pnpm as the package manager. Run the command, pnpm create next app at latest, then project name. It will ask a few questions. I'll select yes, for Typescript. No to ESLint. No for Tailwind CSS. No to source folder. And select yes, for App Router. As it is also the recommended way now. I will use the default alias and select no here. It will take some time. Here you can see that we have app folder instead of pages folder. We'll now install Mongoose for manipulating data in mongoDB. Run pnpm add mongoose inside your project directory. To run the project we'll do pnpm dev. The project will start on localhost. Now we'll create schema for user. In app folder create a folder models. Inside it create user.ts. Here we'll import some things from Mongoose. First is schema. Then model, and finally models. Const user schema equals new schema. Here we give fields for our user. First is email of type string. Unique true. I want this field to be required, so I pass true here and also give custom error message. And then in match I'll give a regular expression to validate email, and also give custom error message here. Next user will have name of type string. Required true. It'll have a minimum length of 4. And if it is less than 4 this message will be returned. Max length of 30. And this is the error message. Next we have phone number, which is also a string. It'll be a required field. In match I'll give a regular expression to validate phone numbers, and also an error message. Now we'll create const user. If there is existing model we'll use it by models.user, else we'll create a new one. Then export default user. In the root of project create .env.local file. Here we'll add mongoDB URL. I'll be using mongoDB Compass as my local database. Here you can see the connection URI. Copy it and paste it here. Now I'll connect from my Compass and create a new DB. You can use any existing one if you like. Here provide DB name, and then name of the collection. And click Create Database. Now to specify which database I want to use, I will add it in the connection URI like this. In the app folder, create a new folder, name it lib. Inside it, create a file mongodb.ts. Here we'll write code to connect to our DB. Import mongoose. Then destruct mongodb URL from process.env. Check if mongodb URL is empty, then throw an error, that environment variable is invalid. Now create an async arrow function, connect to mongodb. First we'll check if mongoose.connection.readyState is not 0. If that is the case, then don't connect again and return, because our connection is already established. Here you can see ready state 0 means disconnected. So we'll connect to DB only when it is in disconnected state. Below this condition, write a try-catch block. Inside the try, we destruct connection from response returned from mongoose.connect. The connect function will take the connection string and some options. I'm passing use new URL parser, true, but it will give us type error. So here do as connect options, and make sure to import it from mongoose. Now check if ready state is one, that is DB is connected, then return promise.resolve true. And in the catch, return promise.reject error. Inside the app folder, create a new folder for APIs. Inside it, create a folder user, where create a file route.ts. Make sure to name this file route. Here we write our APIs. Export async function, then name of the HTTP method. For example, I want to create post API first, so here I give post. It'll get a parameter, request, give it type of next request, and make sure to import it. Here we connect to our DB, and in the catch we do next response.json and give the error. In the next 13.4 update we can send response like this, make sure to import next response. Now I'll destruct the fields for user from request.json. And we have to await it as well. We'll continue to write the API, but let's first return the response and call the API from Postman. It will give an error right now, which we will fix shortly. In the Postman we'll select the method to post and give API URL. Base URL is localhost and the port, then /API/user, as this is where we have added route.ts. Now we hit send, and you can see we get an error. And the status code is also 500. If we see the console, you can see it says top level await is not enabled. To fix this issue we open next.config.js. And add experimental server components external packages and give mongoose here. If we call the API again we can see that issue is solved, and now we get another error because we have not passed body from Postman, as it is a post request. So now if we pass body the error is gone and we get status 200. Now if I pass some data you can see it is being returned. Let's continue to write our post request. First check if user is already present in DB, then don't add them. To do that do await user.findOne, make sure to import user from models. In findOne pass the email we get from request. If user exists, then return an error message. Else we'll write a try catch. Inside try, we write const new user equals await user.create. And here we pass name, email, and phone. Return next response.json success, true. And new user in user. I'll also pass a status code of 201. If there was any error while creating the user it will come in catch. So here we give error type unknown. And then we check that if error is not empty and it is an instance of mongoose.error.validation error. Make sure to import mongoose. Here we add a loop, because validation errors give an array. And I just want to show messages one by one. So I loop through them and just return message for the first one. Now let's pass the data in the request. I'll just give name and email, and click send. It says phone is required. If I pass a small name, then again validation will fail and an error message will be returned. And passing a wrong email also gives error. We also need to give a valid phone number, else it will return an error. Now let's give valid data and call the API. We get success true and status of 201. And if I refresh the collection, you can see data is added here. Let's add another user. Second user is also added in DB. Now I'll call the API again, and it will give error that user already exists. Now let's create request to get all users. Export const async function get, as this is a GET request. Write a try catch statement, inside try do const all users. Equals to await user dot find. And return success response with all user in it. If there was an error while getting users, it will go in catch from where we return the error. Let's call the API. URL will be the same, but HTTP method will change, it'll be get instead of post now. Here we can see all the user in response. Now we'll create API to get a single user. For that we need to make a dynamic route. Create a folder inside user folder, name it ID inside square brackets like this. And in this folder create route.ts. Here we write a get function that receives request and params. Make sure to import Next request. For this tutorial I'm defining the types in the same file. Type API params, that has params object, inside which we have ID that is a string. Give the type here. First connect to DB. Then write try catch block. Const user equals await user dot find one. And pass params dot ID here. If user is not empty, return it in response. Else say user does not exists and give status 404. And in the catch return error. Now open Postman and call the API. It is a GET request and in the URL we also need to pass the ID. If we hit send, you can see data of our user. If I pass any invalid ID, we also get an error. Passing ID of second user will give data for them. Now we write put request, as it also need a dynamic route, we write it in the same file. This time method name is put. We get request and params here. Connect to database. Get data by doing await rec.json. Add a try catch. Inside try we create const user is equal to await user dot find one. Pass param dot ID here. If user exists we write code to update it. else return error with status 404. To update the user in DB, we assign request data to our user object. User.name equals name. User.email equals email. User.phone equals phone. Now do await user.save. Return response with success true and user object. If there is any error, it will go in catch. Here I will handle validation error same as we did in our post call. Copy this. And paste it here. Make sure to import mongoose. If we provide email that belongs to any other user, then it will not come in this if condition we added in our catch. The reason is according to the documentation's unique option is not a validator. And it will not return error of type validation error. So here I also write an else and return error. And I will also add this else statement in our post call catch so that if any other error occur it is returned. Now let's call the update API. Copy the URL, create a new request. Change the method type here. And paste our URL. Add data in body. Before I call the API, you can see this is the user's data. Now let's send the request. We get updated user in response. I'll open Compass and refresh. And you can see data has been updated. Now I'll copy email of the other user and try to pass it in the request. But data will not be updated as error for duplicate email has occurred. You can also change the phone number to see that it's also updating in DB. And with this our update API is complete. Now let's write API to delete the user. We'll write it in the ID folder. As for delete, we need to get ID as well. Create async function, name it delete. It will receive request and params. Connect to the database. Then write a try catch. Inside try we write const user is equal to await user dot find one and delete. Pass params.id here. If user was present and it was deleted, we get its data in user object. If this is not empty, then send it in response with success true. Else we say user doesn't exists. And finally in the catch we return the error response. Open Postman. Copy this URL. And change method to delete. Click send and we have success response. If I open Compass and refresh, you can see user has been deleted. If I call the API again, we get response that user does not exist and status is 404. This is because it has already been deleted. And our CRUD operations for user using Next 13 route handlers are complete. I have created a Discord server, I'll link it down in the description. Please feel free to join it, and subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you liked the video.